Live in Western Oregon, this is NBC 16 News at 6:30.
With Democrats and other critics seeking to assign President Trump a measure of blame for this weekend's horrific mass shootings, the president, amid heavy scrutiny, visited the sites of both atrocities. Thanks for joining us on NBC 16 News at 6:30. I am Alexis Thrower. National correspondent James Rosen has the latest from Washington.
President Trump's visit to Dayton, Ohio, 3 days after a mass shooting there claimed 9 innocent lives and resulted in injuries to 27 others, included closed-door meetings with victims and their families, law enforcement officers, and elected officials.
Both the senator and I spoke very directly what we've been saying the whole time about the need for common sense gun legislation. Earlier,
the president rejected reporters' suggestions his rhetoric is emboldening white supremacists and mass shooters.
My critics are political people. They're trying to make points. In many cases, they're running for president and they're very low in the polls. The Dayton situation, he was a fan of Antifa. He was a fan of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, nothing to do with Trump.
The chief executive said he expects to reach a bipartisan deal in Congress to add to background checks for firearms purchases without any new measures on so-called assault weapons or large-capacity magazines.
There's a great appetite, and I mean a very strong appetite, for background checks. I have not seen it with regard to certain types of weapons.
On the campaign trail, former Vice President Joe Biden told an Iowa audience Mr. Trump has more in common with George Wallace, the late segregationist governor of Alabama, than with George Washington.
It's both clear language and in code. This president has fanned the flames of white supremacy in this nation.
As a senator, however, Mr. Biden expressed some admiration for Governor Wallace and boasted of having received an award from him.
I've watched what he said and how he said it, and I wouldn't have rated him very high in the first place. But Joe Biden has truly lost his fastball, that I can tell you.
On Friday, the White House has scheduled a meeting between senior administration officials and executives from the big tech firms. That follows the order the president issued on Monday, instructing the Department of Justice to work with online companies to develop tools that can detect mass shooters before they strike. On Capitol Hill, James Rosen.
A woman who survived the Thurston High School shooting in 1998 speaks out about how 2 decades of mass shootings in America have affected her life. Aubrey Bulkley was a freshman at Thurston High School in May of '98. She was in the courtyard when a student opened fire in the cafeteria. 2 students died, 25 others were injured. Bulkley is still processing what happened 21 years ago, but says the prevalence of these shootings makes it harder.
Just those emotions and those feelings get brought up again, and your heart breaks because you know exactly how those people feel.
Visit our website at NBC16.com as Bulkley tells us how she hopes to use her experience to spark change. On to a first look at weather. NBC 16's meteorologist Josh Kozart joins us now in the Weather Center. Josh, when I was coming into work, it definitely got a little chilly today.
Yeah, it was kind of a nice break from the summer heat that we've seen the past couple of days, and the cooler conditions, they'll be sticking around for the next several days, with also a chance of rain making its way back into western Oregon. But you can see the clouds. That was the main story today, along with those cooler temperatures. Eugene Springfield area actually managed to make it up to 72 degrees today, but radar and satellite does show quiet, calm conditions over our area, although there's that cloud coverage, just a few isolated thunderstorms hanging out further off towards our east, but not impacting us through the overnight hours tonight. But still, the fire concern remains, especially for portions of Douglas, Coos, and parts of Lane County, as a fire weather watch remains in effect starting Friday morning, lasting through Friday evening. So we still need the rain, and I'll have that timeline for you in just the next couple of minutes.
A gun rights group is traveling to Coos Bay for an anti-gun regulation rally. NBC 16's Lauren Negretti reports.
The group Patriot Prayer will join local gun rights advocates at a Second Amendment rights rally at the Coos Bay Boardwalk this weekend. The rally is Saturday at 3 p.m. Their message against gun regulations comes on the heels of shootings in Ohio and Texas.
The deterrent that we have from the rifle is so powerful, but we take it for granted. And so we don't think about that. So when you see loss of life, 20 people in one night, it's a horrible thing. but it's psychological.
He says statistically, a rifle is one of the safest guns to own, and that taking guns away heightens a homeland security type risk. Gibson was invited by Rob Taylor, a chief petitioner of the Second Amendment Sanctuary Ordinance,
which would give a directive to the county not to enforce any firearm regulations that are coming out of the state and out of the federal government. We believe that our right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
His group expects to collect the rest of the 5,000 signatures needed and will turn it in after the primary in May to put it on the general election ballot. Both expect a peaceful rally. The Coos Bay Police Department says they've been in contact with Patriot Prayer, are monitoring social media websites about the rally, and are coordinating with other law enforcement to have a police presence at the boardwalk and at the North Bend Community Center. Reporting in Coos County, I'm Lauren Negretti.
A community rallies in Springfield to speak out against white nationalism and the mass shootings from last weekend in America. The group Springfield Alliance for Equity and Respect put today's rally together at the steps of City Hall. Speaker after speaker denounced the national wave of violence and the role of racism in the shootings. Local politicians and leaders of communities of color linked the shootings to white nationalist ideology and to what they called a pattern of domestic terrorism.
People of color are not safe, and I don't want our community to live in fear any longer.
How is it possible that we are here in 2019 condemning Nazism and white supremacy and white separatism? What the hell is going on?
Rally organizers said it was time to connect the dots to government policies rooted in dehumanizing whole groups of people. A Eugene church joined hundreds across the country for prayer vigils today. They say the fight isn't over for children at the southern U.S. border. Pastor Dan Shelwitz with Our Redeemer Lutheran Church in Eugene says around 400 churches in the U.S. took part. Supporters say they are concerned about the ability for migrant families to seek asylum. They also explain they want families to stay together when crossing the border and that there needs to be reform within ICE.
We believe that thoughts and prayers are where you begin and move forward for action, because you need to have a measured action. You don't want to just react emotionally, but you want to think about what's going on here and how can we best respond to the action.
He says the supporters have been working with their local congressional delegation. They hope the next steps for change is through lawmakers. Coming up next on NBC 16 at 6:30, today marks the 60th anniversary of the Roseburg Blast. Gabby Arinda recaps the historical event. And later in the show, we give you an update on the Milepost 97 fire and what ODF is saying about its containment thus far. And if you see breaking news, give us a call at 541-393-KNTR. That's 5687, or send an email to newsdesk@kntr.com.
It's the outrageous new game show.
Win 100 news at 6:30.
The 60th anniversary of the Roseburg Blast is reminding the community of the tragic event. NBC 16's Gabby Arinda reports.
This is what a normal day in downtown Roseburg looks like. But 60 years ago,
the worst man-caused catastrophe in Oregon history.
More than 6 tons of explosives blew a 52-wide hole in the middle of Roseburg. It destroyed buildings and damaged most of the downtown area.
People actually thought we'd been hit by an atomic bomb because of the huge plume of flames.
14 people died in the blast. 125 others were injured. The Douglas County Museum works to be sure those killed and injured are not forgotten.
The people that were killed, it impacted their families and is still impacting them.
Bratton hopes the exhibit will have a lasting effect on the community.
Terrible things can happen and destroy what you think can never be fixed, and yet when you all work together, it can come back actually and be better.
The Roseburg Blast exhibit is now on display so the Roseburg community can remember an important part of its history. Covering Douglas County for you, I'm Gabby Arinda.
Police in Canada say they believe they have found the bodies of 2 fugitives wanted in connection with 3 murders last month in British Columbia. Cam McLeod and Briar Schmigelski were the subjects of a massive manhunt following the deaths of a North Carolina woman, her Australian boyfriend, and a Canadian man. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police today announced 2 bodies had been found near where items belonging to the suspects were found along the Nelson River in Manitoba. The teen fugitives fled British Columbia and were last spotted July 22nd, hundreds of miles east. The intensive search continued in northern Manitoba, but was stymied until the discovery of an abandoned boat and their personal belongings. The 2 bodies were located less than a mile away.
This morning, at approximately 10 a.m., RCMP officers located 2 male bodies in the dense brush within 1 kilometer from where the items were found. This is approximately 8 kilometers from where the burnt vehicle was located. At this time, we believe these are the bodies of the 2 suspects wanted in connection with the homicides in British Columbia.
The RCMP says it is confident they found the suspects, but an autopsy will confirm the identities. McLeod and Schmigelski have been charged with second-degree murder in the death of Leonard Dyke and were suspects in the shootings of Australian Lucas Fowler and China Deese of North Carolina. Turning to weather now, NBC 16's meteorologist Josh Cozart is standing by for a look at what's coming up in your full forecast. Hey, Josh.
Hey, Alexis. We're now in towards the upper 60s for our current conditions out there. And this fall-like weather, it continues for the next couple of days with a chance of rain. I'll have those details and the timing of that next system coming up next.
The Broyhill closeout sale now at M. Jacobs.
Meteorologist Josh Cozart.
Well, the calendar isn't wrong. It's still the beginning of August, but our temperatures felt a lot more like October than for summer-like temperatures. But boy, were the clouds in abundance this afternoon. But those fall-like temperatures, they will continue for the next 24 to 48 hours. And yes, the rain chances are also going to be increasing as we make our way closer to the weekend. But just as quickly as this cooler weather moved in, yes, those summer-like conditions are going to be right around the corner for us. But with our radar and satellite, calm, quiet conditions out towards western portions of our state, but just a few isolated thunderstorms with a little bit of lightning further off towards our east, not having any impacts for those of us in the valleys or towards the coastal areas. But we still desperately need to see that rainfall as drought conditions, abnormally dry in the yellow and then moderate drought conditions in the brown continue. So once we get some rain showers back in our forecast, we'd like to see a lot of these colors peel off of our map. But beautiful conditions this evening for the Douglas County Fair. Plenty of sunshine as increasing clouds start to make their way through the evening hours. Then temperatures after sunset will be in towards the upper to mid 60s. And then the fair wraps up by the end at about 11 o'clock. But we'd love to see your photos. Go over to NBC16.com/chime in and share the fun times that you're having with us over there. But with our futurecast, you can see that there's those increased in clouds over western regions of Oregon, just to the west of the Cascades. And you might notice that maybe just a few isolated rain showers popping up on the coastal areas for your Thursday morning, and maybe just a few spotty, foggy conditions in the lower lying elevations. But once we make our way into the afternoon hours, some of those clouds start to peel back. The Roseburg area should be seeing about partly cloudy skies for your Thursday. But then into Friday, most of us wake up with plenty of cloud coverage. And when we make our way through the Friday afternoon hours, you'll notice a little bit of green starting to pop up over the Cascades, demonstrating that, yes, the rain chance is just right around the corner, and we'll see better, more widespread rain showers once we get into our Saturday. But the reason for this next weather pattern change is all due to this low pressure system tracking its way further off towards the east, already giving us some cooler conditions in western regions of Oregon. But yes, once that low pressure system gets right over the coastal areas, that's when the increased in rain chances makes its presence known for us. But tomorrow it's still going to be mild across the valleys. Temperatures anywhere from the mid to upper 70s. Out towards the coast, still above average, as temperatures are in towards the mid to upper 60s for our daytime highs. But out for the Eugene-Springfield area, there is a sight we like to see on the 7-day forecast. Rain showers back in our forecast for your Saturday. Just about a 50% chance of rain, so not widespread, not a deluge, but you might just want to keep the umbrella close at hand. And then once we make our way back into the new work work week, the sunshine returns and temperatures start their warming trend yet again. It's August after all. But for the coastal areas, we are going to see more clouds than sunshine for your Thursday, Friday. 40% chance for some rain showers in the morning on your Saturday, and then plenty of sunshine for the new work week. And finally, towards the Umpqua Valley, more clouds than sun for the next couple of days. 50% chance for some rain showers on your Saturday, and then the sunshine returns. And Alexis, the summer temperatures return back into the low 90s for us just in time for the new work week.
And I sure hope so, because with only a few weeks left in summertime, I hope we can really enjoy
and get the
those
most
summer,
that we can.
You know, those summer feels. And I'm so glad that you said it was raining on Saturday, 50% chance, because I think the weather knew I wasn't going to be in town on Saturday.
So you're like,
because I love
the
sun. I love the sun. Thank you so much, Josh.
Absolutely.
The Milepost 97 fire near Canyonville is 75% contained. That's according to the Oregon Department of Forestry. Firefighters have worked day and night to get the fire down. The Forestry Department says there were 25 injuries among the crew members. No homes or structures have been damaged, but forestry officials say the total cost of damage to the land is more than $20 million.
This fire has been one of the best managed fires I personally have worked on. Getting here, it was not looking good, but weather cooperated. After a couple days, we were able to kind of stop this fire and have it fall on its face.
More than 13,000 acres have burned so far. Touchstone says you can help keep the great outdoors fire-free this season by making sure all campfires are completely out after use. Earlier this week, a brush fire broke out in Eugene near the Beltline overpass, sending smoke into the air. Fire officials on scene said the fire appeared to be related to a homeless camp under the bridge. The Eugene Springfield Fire Marshal says it is illegal to light fires in city limits, with certain exceptions for heating and cooking. She says an uncontained fire can get out of control very quickly, especially with fuel nearby.
So the type of fuel around the fire is very determinant of how fast it spreads and how big it gets, how close it is to a structure, or what other things may be around.
During Monday's fire, no one was found at the site and no injuries were reported. Coming up next on NBC 16 at 6:30, if you've ever donated to Food for Lane County, you've probably wondered where those donations go specifically. Well, Cassandra Gutierrez has a behind-the-scenes look to help answer that question.
This was me 6 years ago.
16 News at 6:30.
Last week, we told you about the Lane County Fair food drive for Food for Lane County. Today, NBC 16's Cassandra Gutierrez gives us a behind-the-scenes look at where donations go and what it brings to our community.
The one thing we know is there are a lot of people in our community that still need help.
Dawn Marie Woodward tells me that is why major donations from local companies and food drives are important. However, a food drive brings something different to the table.
The food drives are what puts variety into our pantry system, and it gives people food that they really want to eat.
In their most recent food drive at the Lane County Fair, they received about 22,000 pounds worth of food. Volunteers are key to processing over 7 million meals through this facility each year. Volunteers clock in about 70,000 hours a year.
So this is a great way to help keep families together, to help people have food and be nourished, which is the most important thing for growth, education, and life.
He says he also enjoys the people he volunteers with.
There's many opportunities to volunteer throughout Eugene, and I would encourage you to do that to help make our community and frankly our state and our world a better place.
However, despite the efforts and success with the recent food drive, Woodward tells me the summer is one of the slower seasons.
Hunger is every day in our community. It doesn't take vacations, it doesn't take holidays. There are people every day who have needs.
She continues that half of children in Lane County would qualify for their services. A community group coming together to make sure our neighbors have food on their tables. Reporting in Eugene, I'm Cassandra Gutierrez.
As kids gear up for the new school year in a couple of weeks, concerns about vaccinations are back. State law requires children to get vaccinated against tetanus, polio, chickenpox, measles, mumps, and other diseases. While it is mandated, the fear over vaccinations has led to many children getting exemptions. Oregon has the highest rate in the country, with 7.5% of kindergartners not getting their shots. Experts say there's very little risk from vaccinations.
Been doing this almost 20 years, and the biggest reaction I've had has been pain, redness, or swelling at the site. It's very unusual to have a serious reaction, but in our health center, we're ready for that if it happens.
Visit our website at NBC16.com to hear what public health officials say we need to have in order to prevent a disease outbreak. Eugene's alternative high school program is moving a little closer to home, and construction is already underway. The new 8,000 square foot building is prefabricated for a fast build. It'll house the early college and career options, better known as the ECHO program, which was previously located at the Lane Community College campus. Carrie Delph with 4J says the lease was up and the new building will be a better location right next to the district offices. The ECHO program offers diplomas and credit recovery options for students who choose an alternative high school.
This location is a centralized location, will help students be able to access it without as much time on the bus getting to and from school, and with access to things like career technical education programs in the other high schools.
Delph says the new building will be finished before school is back in session this September. It's being built to modern seismic standards. She says the price tag for the new building is about $3 million. Coming up next on NBC 16 at 6:30, we've got some cuteness overload coming out of the Kansas City Zoo. Stay tuned for more. A cute alert, a trio of new arrivals has the Kansas City Zoo beaming with pride. Red Panda parents Randy and Kate welcomed triplets on July 11th. The cubs aren't ready for their big debut yet. They will spend time in the nesting box for a few months. These youngsters don't have names yet. In fact, whether they are boys or girls is still a mystery, but cute has already been determined. They are really cute.
Well, maybe they can name one of them Alexis.
Alexis.
Josh. Mike's sitting over here. Hey, we got their names.
There you go. There you go. Mike the Panda. Does that work?
It has a good ring to it, I think.
Thank you for joining us on NBC 16 at 6:30. We'll see you tonight for NBC 16 News at 11.
Okay, in Avatar, when they have